What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. I want to take a look at a fight that took place October 27th, 1943. It was a 15-round affair for the NBA Lightweight Championship of the World. It took place in Los Angeles, California at Gilmore Stadium between Luther Slugger White and Sammy Angott. Fascinating fight that was. Now, Luther Slugger White was born February 18th, 1918 in Athens, Georgia. He resided in Baltimore, Maryland. Now, he stood 5'6" and he was a lightweight. And what's amazing about his career, his first 45 fights was against 15 professional debut opponents. He had total bouts of 106 fights, 78 wins, 24 knockouts, 15 losses. He was stopped himself 4 different occasions, and he had 11 draws. Now, fascinating enough, Luther Slugger White's professional debut was against Black Murderers Row, my favorite Puerto Rican fighter, Coco Kid. He fought him April 13th, 1934. That was his professional debut. And if that's not amazing enough, he faced Coco Kid 4 different occasions. He also faced him May 29th, 1934, June 4th, 1935, and December 8th, 1941. He would lose 1, and he would win 3 over the great Coco Kid. Now, he would have 1 draw and 1 win over Sammy Baker, 2 wins over Sammy Banks, September 25th, 1934, and October 23rd, 1934. He would have 3 draws and 3 wins over Kid Rufus, 2 wins over Price Albert. Now, Price Albert was a very, very good club fighter. He would have 1 win and 1 no contest over Baby Bear, 2 wins over Honey Boy Lee, 1 draw and 1 win over Tommy Brusso, another good club fighter. He would lose to the great Holman Williams. I have him ranked number 1 as the greatest Murderers Row fighter. It's my opinion. He would win 1 and lose 1 over Sammy Julian. Now, Sammy Julian is an outstanding fighter. I'm going to show you Sammy Julian towards the end of this video. I just have to remember to do that. He defeated Ralph Zanelli. Fascinating fighter was Ralph Zanelli. Defeated Bernie Miller, Madison Square Garden. Bernie Miller, I got to tell you, I might even show you him as well. Fascinating fighter was Bernie Miller. He defeated Jimmy Leto. Now, Jimmy Leto was Sammy Angott's 3rd professional fight. Petey Cerrone's 7th professional fight. He would win 1 and lose 1 to Leo Ruddock, another good fighter. He would win 1 and lose 1 to Willie Joyce. Willie Joyce, one of my favorite fighters. Fascinating fighters, Willie Joyce. He fought Armstrong and many of them. He defeated Juan Zarita. Now, at the time, Juan Zarita had a professional fight career, 118 fights. 118 wins, 20 losses with 1 draw. And Juan Zarita would win the NBA Lightweight Championship March 8th, 1944 over Sammy Angott in Gilmore Stadium. Fascinating. And then Juan Zarita would lose that lightweight championship out to the great Ike Williams, Trenton Thunder. And then Ike Williams would eventually lose his titles to Jimmy Carter. But I gotta tell you, Luther Slugger White was some fighter. He would have a draw with Henry Armstrong. At that time, Armstrong had a professional career. He would win 148 wins, 21 losses, and 7 draws. The Legion Stadium in Hollywood, California, July 14th, 1944. He would lose to Ike Williams. At that time, Ike Williams had a fighting career of 49 wins, 5 losses, and 2 draws, May 16th, 1944. Luther Slugger White was some fighter. But he would face Sammy Angott. And this was for the vacant NBA, National Boxing Organization, or is better known as Association, pretty much to the mob. Now, Sammy Angott would have a professional career, one like none other. He was born January 16, 1915 in Washington, Pennsylvania. He died October 22, 1980. He was 65 years of age at the time of his death. Cleveland, Ohio. He was inducted to the Boxing Hall of Fame in 1973 and the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1998. He stood 5'7.5" and he had a 70-inch reach. He was an outstanding lightweight, had total bouts of 131 fights, 94 wins. Listen to this, 29 losses, 22 knockouts. He was stopped once in his entire career of 131 fights. He had 8 draws. He had 1,133 rounds of boxing experience. If that's not enough, I'm going to go through with you some of the opponents he faced. It was the who's who of boxing. Now, July 8th, 1946, he would be knocked out by the great Bo Jack. And this is basically towards the end of his career. That fight took place Madison Square Garden. June 11th, 1943, he would lose the great Henry Armstrong. Now, those are 2 great Hall of Famers, world champions, that he would lose to. And I would let him know that my career is basically done. But he had his professional debut March 9th, 1936, against Tony Marengo. That fight took place in Brooklyn, New York. You see, Brooklyn, New York was where Sammy Ingot would spend a lot of his time, although he was born in Washington, Pennsylvania. But he was basically known as a New York fighter. He would lose to Jackie Wilson in his sixth professional fight. Jackie Wilson had a professional career fight at that time at 41 wins, 9 losses, with 4 draws. March 25th, 1936, he would lose to Leonard Del Gino. I'm going to show you him. He had a fight career of 28-6-6 in New York. He was an outstanding New York fighter. Fascinating lightweight. July 14th, 1936, he would defeat Victor Valley. At that time, Victor Valley had a fighting career record of 17-0 with 1 draw. He was undefeated. New York Bronx Coliseum. Now, Victor Valley was from the Bronx, but he was originally from Puerto Rico. He fought Pancho Villa. A lot of people don't know that Victor Valley was the trainer for Jerry Cooney. I have met Victor Valley several times. I have his profile. He has told me many a story and showed me outstanding techniques. Did Victor Valley. R.I.P. to him. Fascinating fighter and trainer was Victor Valley. He was also in there training Glenwood the Real Beast Brown, among others. He was a very high-profile trainer in Gleason's gym, and I had the pleasure of knowing him. He would lose to Tommy Spingal, another great fighter. Lost to him twice and defeated him once. Now, he would win 1 and lose 2 to Lee Shepard. And at that time, he vacated his NBA championship belt, November 13th, 1942. And he also had a belt called the New York SAC, New York State Athletic Commission belt. So Sammy Ingot was some fighter. He would lose to Johnny Hutchison, Motor Square Garden. He would defeat Leo Roddick. He would defeat Wesley Ramsey. These are all high-profile top 5 fighters that I am telling you about. September 16th, 1938. He would defeat Freddie Miller, another world champion, December 5th, 1938. He would defeat Aldi Spaldi, April 14th, 1939. Then we fight him again September 28th, 1942. Now the thing with Aldi Spaldi was a heck of a fighter. In 1937, Henry Armstrong had defeated 27 opponents. He knocked out 26 of those 27 opponents in 1937. And the only opponent he didn't knock out that year was Aldi Spaldi. He was a former European champion. He weighed 135 pounds. Did Aldi Spaldi. Fascinating fighter. He would defeat Milt Aaron, another good fighter. He had a fighting record of 51-7-4, May 3rd, 1939. July 17th, 1939, he would defeat Petey Cerrone. Petey Cerrone had a fighting record of 116-23-3. And that would be Peter Cerrone's last fight against Sammy Angad. Peter Cerrone would hold the World Featherweight Championship, and he would lose that belt to the great Henry Armstrong in 1937. I'll show you Peter Cerrone as well. He would defeat Davey Dave. Davey Dave had a fighting record of 57-6-4. May 3rd, 1940 in Chicago. And that's when he would first hold the NBA lightweight championship strap over Dave Davey. July 17, 1939, he would defeat Baby Arizmendi. Baby Arizmendi would be in the ring 5 separate occasions with the great Henry Armstrong. I have him ranked in the top 10 greatest Mexican fighter of all times. Look up Baby Arizmendi. Outstanding fighter. And he had a fighting record at that time of 89 wins, 18 losses, with 15 draws. He fought in Chicago Stadium. He would defeat Lou Jenkins. He was a former lightweight champion. Lou Jenkins took the title away from Lou Ambers. That was for the New York State Athletic Commission Lightweight Championship in Madison Square Garden. That fight took place December 19th, 1941. He would face Gene Burton. Now, Gene Burton would be the 20th opponent that Rocky Graziano would face consecutively, all wins, in order to get the 1952 title shot against Sugar Ray Robinson for the middleweight championship strap. And when he got that opportunity, Ray Robinson dropped him in the second round after being knocked down himself. And he hit Rocky Graziano so hard that his head went back so far that it disrupted his L6 and his S1, because Rocky Graziano had no feeling in his left leg. Sugar Ray Robinson, one of the greatest punchers in the history of the game. But Gene Burton was the opponent that made that possible for Rocky Graziano in his 20th professional comeback fight. He would face Ike Williams. He would face Bo Jack. Lose to both of them. Ike Williams was the lightweight champion of the world, and so was Bo Jack. Bo Jack won his title from Bob Montgomery. And Bob Montgomery won the title back from Bo Jack. Bo Jack originally took the title from Tippy Larkin. He would defeat Aaron Perry, another great fighter. Luther Slugger White, and that would be for the NBA championship strap. That's the fight we're talking about right now. I'm just giving you the list of opponents that Sammy Angad faced. Show you how outstanding of an opponent he was. July 21st, he would face Sugar Ray Robinson. He would lose to him. 1942. Fought him again, July 31st, 1942. And again, March 4th, 1946. He would lose to Ray Robinson all the times that he fought him. He would defeat Willie Pep and break his winning streak of 62-0. That fight took place March 19th, 1943 in Madison Square Garden. I don't know what else I can tell you about Sammy Angad. But what's amazing about that fight with Sammy Angad and a fighter by the name of Davey Dave was referee Jack Dempsey had witnessed Angad May 3rd, 1940, when he outpointed the contender Davey Dave for the 15-round championship bout. That fight took place Louisville, Kentucky, if my memory serves me correctly. It was after hundreds had viewed the Kentucky Derby. I think the crowd was over 8,000. Fascinating career of Sammy Angad. Sammy Angad's to your right, and Luther Slugger White is to your left. And like I said, that fight took place in Los Angeles in Gilmore Stadium. From the opening bell, both men came out swinging. But Luther Slugger White was a slugger. That's what he was. And Angad used to like to come forward as well. When he fought Ray Robinson, he was a master boxer in the Ray Robinson fight. But he couldn't get past the jab of Ray Robinson. He couldn't get past the circle. Ray Robinson used to fight in the middle of the ring. Tight circle in the ring. He would jab and he would move, but he wouldn't move his front foot. So Angad had problems with Ray Robinson. But with Slugger White was tailor-made for Sammy Angad. And after a 15-round affair, the title go to Sammy Aingot. So Sammy Aingot was some fighter, and I'm going to show you some of the opponents that these men fought, just as a courtesy from the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Now this is Leonard Delgino, outstanding New York fighter. I have a profile on him, and I got to tell you, the story on him is something else. He was a great club fighter. This is from my personal collection in my scrapbook. Things I'm doing for my subscribers, not going to be done nowhere else. Petey Cerrone, the great featherweight champion, had his title lifted from him from the great Henry Armstrong, who I'll show you next. Henry Armstrong, fascinating fighter. Sammy Aingot, outstanding fighter he was. Now Slugger White was in there with the great Willie Joyce. Phenomenal fighter was Willie Joyce. Coco Kid was the first fighter that Sammy Aingot would face. He would face him in his professional debut. And he turned out to be one of the greatest fighters of all times, Coco Kid. Sammy Aingot was in there with Bob Montgomery, one of the greatest lightweight champions of all time from Philadelphia. Luther Slugger White, one of my favorite lightweights. Dynamite fighter, gave Sammy Aingot some fight for the NBA championship strap. Sammy Aingot was in there with Bo Jack, one of the greatest lightweight champions of all time. Can't find a better fighter than Bo Jack. Sidney Walker. Luther Slugger White was in there with the great Holman Williams. Like I said, I have Holman Williams ranked number 1, the greatest murderous row fighter. I have Charlie Burley number 2 and Coco Kid number 3. That's my opinion. But Holman Williams was in there with all of them. As you can see, he was in there in every weight division as well, up to light heavyweight. So thanks for hanging in there with me and exploring these outstanding fighters. Luther Slugger White and Sammy Aingot. Salute to my subscribers. Salute to these old-time fighters. More than worthy of deserving my time and exploring their fantastic career. This is Scrapbook Boxing, stating all great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. Peace.